What is up, my elites? Elite MJ here to bring you guys a very short message before episode 9 begins. Today I want to talk about something really important: protecting our wildlife. Just like in the Pokemon world, where bad guys are always trying to poach rare Pokemon, real world poaching is a serious issue for many of our planet's most amazing animals. In our world, every year thousands of animals are killed or captured illegally. Poaching is a serious threat to many species, pushing them into the brink of extinction. But there's hope. Thanks to organisations like the World Wildlife Fund, Wildlife Conservation Society and the International Rhino Foundation. Just like how we cheer for Ash and his friends stopping the bad guys, these organisations are on the front lines, fighting against poaching and illegal wildlife trade. So please join me in supporting the WWF, WCS and IRF. Together we can make a difference and ensure a future where wildlife can live safely and freely, just like we want for our Pokemon friends. Check out the link in my descriptions below to learn more and get involved. This episode is dedicated to the cause of the WWF, WCS, IRF and our planet's wildlife. Let's do our part to protect these amazing creatures. Please know, these organisations are not sponsoring this video. I'm sharing this because I believe in their cause. Take care and enjoy the episode.
Pokemon Next Generation Fanfiction Season 1 Episode 9, created by Marcus J. Anthony, narrated by Roach. As the group reached Cerulean City, their excitement was palpable after finally leaving the depths of Mount Moon. Throughout their travels, Marc's Pokemon had proven their strength, emerging victorious in every battle. His Pidgey Nimbus proudly perched on his shoulder, a testament to its mastery of Steel Wing, which had helped overcome numerous Rock-type opponents. Upon arrival in Cerulean City, they headed straight for the Pokemon Center, to wash off the mud from Mount Moon, relax, and enjoy a filling lunch. With the Pokemon contest for Rachel scheduled for the following day, she took the initiative to prepare her team, which included Eevee, Oddish, Nidoran, and Igglybuff for the competition. As Rachel focused on her contest preparations, Anthony learned that the Cerulean Junior Frontier would take place in the same arena as the Pokemon contest, but not for another 3 days. Initially considering a day of relaxation, Rachel wisely encouraged him to use the time for training and tournament research. Meanwhile, Marc's plans to head to the gym took a detour when he overheard a group of enthusiastic children discussing an upcoming underwater ballet show at the Cerulean City gym, featuring none other than the Kanto region's champion, Misty. Disappointed by the delay in his gym battle, Marc suggested attending the ballet show in hopes of meeting champion Misty. Rachel, recognizing the opportunity to enhance her stage presence by watching the performance, eagerly agreed. However, Anthony held little interest in a ballet show and preferred a day of leisure, perhaps spending it fishing in pursuit of a water-type Pokemon. Ultimately, Anthony agreed to Marc's suggestion of attending the ballet show after they spend the morning fishing and enjoying a subsequent period of relaxation. To increase their chance of success, the group leased fishing rods, lure balls, net balls, and dive balls, in addition to purchasing tickets to Misty's presentation from the Pokemart. During their shopping trip, the group encountered an unexpected turn of events when a group of mischievous Meowth barged through the store, carrying items taken from the food hall and being chased by irate store employees. Rachel couldn't help but notice Anthony scowling, grunting harsh words under his breath towards the Meowth as if he detested their very sight. The trio then continued onto Route 25, a short distance from the city, where they discovered a vast field with a lake in the center. In the wide open area, their Pokemon played joyfully. Rocco's enthusiasm knocked Marc over once again, a daily occurrence that elicited lighthearted laughter from Anthony and Rachel. Anthony eagerly positioned himself by the water's edge, poised for a chance to reel in a water-type Pokemon. As if on cue, Rachel's rod caught something, and she started to reel it in. Rachel yelled as a Staryu exploded from the lake's surface. She threw a lure ball to catch it, but the Staryu was resilient and escaped the ball. Rachel was forcefully drenched by a water gun, and her irritation was clear. She summoned Oddish, who responded with a powerful Mega Drain, which struck Staryu. However, the Staryu countered with Rapid Spin, colliding with Oddish and knocking it back. Unfazed, Rachel encouraged Oddish, and its spirit remained unbroken. Oddish used Growth to increase its power and dodged many water gun attacks before releasing another Mega Drain that connected. This time, Rachel aimed a netball towards Staryu.
Staryu has been registered to your Pokédex.
Marc gave Rachel a thumbs up, saying it was great that she caught a Staryu right before they went to Misty's show, especially since she used to raise one when she was younger. An hour went by and Marc and Anthony still hadn't caught any water Pokemon. Rachel used the time to train her 5 Pokemon. Marc was half dozing while Anthony remained focused staring at the lake. Finally, his fishing line twitched, and he yanked it out of the water with all his might. A Magikarp flopped at his feet. Marc and Rachel looked a bit bummed, but then they saw a huge smile on Anthony's face. He tossed a dive ball, and before they knew it, he'd caught the Magikarp.
Magikarp has been registered to your Pokédex.
Anthony hopped around the field like he'd caught Mew, revealing his love for Gyarados, one of his favorite Pokemon. His excitement was infectious, fueled by his plans to train the newly caught Magikarp. Seeing Anthony's elation, Marc connected the dots to Misty, recalling how her Gyarados was famous worldwide. This got him pumped up, speculating about what other water types linked to Misty might appear next. Could it be a Seaking, a Dugong, maybe a Golduck, or even a Blastoise? After another half hour with no action on the fishing front, Anthony dozed off with his Pokemon while Rachel continued honing her skills with hers. Meanwhile, Marc's patience was wearing thin. He was on the brink of throwing in the towel when his rod gave a sharp tug. Out of the lake emerged a Cloyster, sporting a mischievous grin, yanking Marc underwater. Clinging on for dear life, Marc was pulled through the water by the determined Cloyster, his breath running thin. Releasing his grip on the rod, he struggled to swim upwards, but the depth was against him. Oxygen dwindled, his face turned an alarming shade of blue, and his vision began to blur. Out of nowhere, a hook caught onto his jacket, propelling him out of the water. Collapsing onto the grass, he coughed up water, his gaze meeting the astonished eyes of a woman standing above him. His shock doubled when he realized it was none other than the champion Misty who had come to his rescue.
Oh, it's just a kid.
She said, realizing it wasn't a water type. Misty then helped Marc to his feet, and he looked at her in awe. Finally finding the courage, he introduced himself and revealed that he is a big fan of hers. He showed Misty his Boulder badge and said he plans on winning at the Indigo Plateau. Misty smiled and said he reminded her of an old friend. When Marc mentioned Ash's name, Misty looked sad. She revealed she had taken a break from her champion duties to help find Ash, but the police had been pressuring her to stay out of it. Marc then mentioned Team Justice, suggesting they could be working for Giovanni. Misty assured Marc that she would look into them. However, the clock reminded her of her impending preparations for her show, a duty she felt reluctant to fill. Despite her reservations, her sisters had a knack of persuading her otherwise. Marc chimed in, promising to be a part of the cheering crowd. With a warm smile, Misty produced spare backstage passes and extended them to Marc, adding that they held the chance to meet Rain, the gym leader of Cerulean City and Misty's younger cousin. Misty said a rushed goodbye, and Marc found his worried friends and Pokemon, informing them of what just happened. They were jealous he got to meet Misty, but excited to learn he got them backstage passes. Rachel suggested they head to the Cerulean City gym where the show took place, as the doors would be opening soon for the pre-show. Completely soaked, Marc chuckled and announced his plan to make a quick dash to the Pokemon Center to get changed into dry clothes, assuring everyone that he would catch up with them there. With a wave, they bid temporary farewells and went their separate ways. Marc hurried back to the Pokemon Center and swiftly changed into fresh, dry clothes before setting off toward the gym. As he made his way up through the lively streets, the excitement for Misty's underwater ballet show was palpable. Gray clouds suddenly consumed the skies of Cerulean City, with thunder rumbling in the distance. Marc was just thankful it didn't rain and he avoided another soaking. Marc was then distracted by the same group of Meowth he had seen fleeing the Pokemart. Again, they ran with food and drink items. A strange feeling came over Marc, and he decided to follow them. He ended up at the Nugget Bridge, north of Cerulean City, following them through the Golden Bridge to a small field of flower beds and shrubs beside the river. The Meowth dived into the bushes, and Marc approached. Suddenly, he was struck by gold coins that hit him like bullets, sending him back. The Meowth pounced out with their claws, ready to strike. Marc tried reasoning with them, saying he just wanted to know why they kept stealing from the Pokemart. The Meowth made sounds, trying to explain themselves, but Marc couldn't understand. An idea clicked in his head, and he brought out Gasper, asking it to translate. Gasper said the Meowth recently rescued a Pokemon from a gang of poachers, and this Pokemon had become a member of their group, which rescues any Pokemon from hunters and poachers. The Poachers have a secret base disguised as a car dealership nearby. The Meowth have tried to inform Officer Ginny, but they have a bad reputation for stealing food, which they only do for the sick Pokemon they rescue. Recently, the Meowth and their new friend went on a mission to rescue more Pokemon from the secret base, but everything went wrong, and their friend got hit by poison and is now very sick. The Meowth pushed back the bush, revealing a fragile Pichu sleeping with an ice bag over its head. Marc sprayed an antidote on Pichu, which helped a little, but the poison had been in its system for too long, requiring advanced medical treatment. Marc asked why they didn't bring Pichu to the Pokemon Center, as Nurse Joy wouldn't deny treating any Pokemon, but the Meowth were too scared because the Poachers were always undercover and scout Pokemon Centers for any Pokemon that might have escaped their base. Marc offered to take Pichu to Nurse Joy, promising he wouldn't leave its side and would also inform Officer Ginny about what's happening after Pichu was healed. Suddenly, a truck sped through the field. 5 sinister-looking men jumped out, cheering that they had finally found them. They were the Poachers, and Marc warned them that he would call the police. Marc turned to the Meowth and told them to guard Pichu. The 5 men tossed 6 Pokeballs each, releasing 29 Zubat and 1 Golbat, which was owned by the leader of the Poachers. Marc brought out the rest of his Pokemon, but he was outnumbered, his 6 against their 30. The Meowth leader sent out the others to join Marc's Pokemon while it stayed behind to guard Pichu. Marc could tell this Meowth really cared for Pichu. The 2 armies of Pokemon collided. Ember, Razor Leaf, Poison Sting, and Rock Throw attacks came from all angles. The lead Poacher held a strange gun-like weapon that fired nets, capturing most of the fighting Meowth. Fueled by anger, Marc lunged forward, charging at the leader and leaping onto him. However, the man swiftly shrugged him off and landed a hard punch to Marc's eye, sending him stumbling backwards. This unexpected attack diverted the attention of Marc's concerned Pokemon. Sadly, all of them except Nimbus fell victim to a flurry of Poison Sting and wing attacks, causing them to collapse in pain. Nimbus took to the gray sky, soaring with remarkable speed. The leader's Golbat growled at the other Zubat and then set off in pursuit of Nimbus. Meanwhile, the group of 29 Zubat positioned themselves above Marc, readying for an assault. With sheer determination, Marc managed to haul himself to his feet, shaking off the pain. The thunder roared above him. The lightning flashed in the grim skies.
Zubat! Listen to me! I know I'm not the strongest or the bravest. I've spent my whole life feeling scared and weak, always falling behind and never fitting in. I've seen pain and loss. I've watched my mother cry every night because my father was fighting in the Pokemon War. I felt the emptiness when my grandfather's Meganium passed away. I've been bullied and left alone, afraid of the very creatures I wanted to befriend, but no more. I used to hate myself for being different, for being afraid. I thought I was a coward, but not today. Today, I stand before you, not as a timid boy, but as someone who wants to protect the innocent. This Pichu is under my protection. I won't let you harm her. I won't let anyone harm any Pokemon. Yes, I hate the hunters who capture and harm Pokemon for their own gain, and I will not stop until they are brought to justice. But more than that, I want to be a friend to all Pokemon. I want to show that there is kindness in this world, that there is someone who cares. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. I will be their shield and their friend, because I am Marc Masters, and I refuse to be afraid anymore. So come on, give me your best shot.
The sick Pichu sat up, looking at Marc with concern, with Meowth by its side who looked equally worried. Overpowered combined Thunderbolt attacks overwhelmed the 29 Zubat, causing them to collapse to the ground. Pichu fell back into unconsciousness, and Marc quickly pulled it up into his arms. The battle wasn't over, as Golbat was still battling Nimbus in the sky. Golbat spat Poison Sting, but Nimbus deflected it using Steel Wing as a shield. Nimbus let out a loud cough, and its body began to glow. Nimbus had transformed and evolved into a Pidgeotto. The Golbat flinched with worry, and Nimbus soared like a flash using agility. It then conjured a powerful twister and blasted Golbat, knocking it down to the ground. Marc praised Nimbus as it soared down to him. It glanced at the leader Meowth, and it jumped on its back, and the two flew back up into the sky. Nimbus conjured another twister, and Meowth released a thunderbolt for the two moves to merge into a tornado of lightning bolts. It spun towards the Poachers, and they were struck down. Sirens echoed through the fields as the dark clouds faded from the now blue skies, the sun making its return. The police arrived at the scene. Marc explained everything. The Poachers had been arrested and their secret base was discovered, and all of the captured Pokémon were set free and treated back to health before returning to the wild. Officer Jenny brought Marc back to the Pokémon Center where his Pokémon were treated. She promised the group of Meowth wouldn't be punished for their theft. In fact, for their bravery and heroic actions, they would be rewarded and offered to work for the Pokémon Ranger Squad that helps bring down poachers. Marc was overjoyed with the news. While he waited for his Pokémon to be healed, the leader Meowth sat next to him while Pichu was being treated. "You're really worried about Pichu? Don't worry, it will be fine." Marc put his arm around Meowth, and within a few moments, Meowth fell asleep on his lap. Anthony and Rachel returned to the Pokémon Center, yelling at Marc for missing Misty's show. They paused when they noticed the sleeping Meowth, and Anthony's expression turned hostile, though it went unnoticed. Marc told them everything. Rachel and Anthony were shocked to learn what Marc had gone through, but were very proud of him. Rachel was angered that there were poachers hiding in plain sight, but relieved these had been caught. Chansey came out with Marc's 6 Pokémon, glowing with help. They all jumped on Marc to embrace him, unintentionally knocking Meowth down. Anthony noticed and praised Nimbus for evolving. Nurse Joy came out and revealed that Pichu was responding well to the treatment and should be fully recovered by tomorrow. She asked Marc if he would like to come visit Pichu, and he explained that he wasn't its trainer. Meowth tugged on Marc's hand, dragging him down the hallway to Pichu's ward. Meowth jumped on the bed, giving Pichu a caring hug. Tears flowed down their faces, which made Marc tear up. Pichu then took Marc's hand and nuzzled him.
You did a good thing today.
Misty appeared behind Marc.
You remind me so much of him.
Marc and his Pokémon didn't leave Pichu's side that night. Marc slept on the floor while the Pokémon shared the bed and sofa. The next morning, Pichu was beaming, waking everybody up with a light thunder shock. Nurse Joy arrived and announced that Pichu was healthy enough to leave and that there was a surprise waiting outside for it and Meowth. Outside the Pokémon Center, many citizens cheered, honoring Pichu, Meowth, Marc, and his Pokémon for bringing down the secret poacher organization in Cerulean City. Each of them received a ribbon for their heroic actions, and the Meowth group, along with Pichu, were offered to join the Pokémon Ranger Squad. However, Pichu looked conflicted. It ran over to Marc and climbed up to his shoulder. Gasper informed them that Pichu wanted to join Marc on his journey. Marc said he would be honored to be Pichu's trainer, but there was a catch. He explained that it wouldn't be right to break up best friends, so he turned to the Meowth leader and asked if it would be willing to give up being a Pokémon Ranger and become his team member with Pichu. Meowth's face beamed with joy and its eyes watered. It turned to the other Meowth and made cat-like noises. Gasper translated, saying Meowth was giving them a pep talk, assuring them that they didn't need a leader and they were all ready to become great Pokémon Rangers. Meowth and Pichu said farewell to the other Meowth and turned to Marc, smiling up at him. He tossed 2 unique Pokeballs, a luxury ball aimed at Meowth and a love ball aimed at Pichu. They were simultaneously consumed into their respective balls, wiggling for a few seconds before their captures were confirmed.
Pichu and Meowth has been registered to your Pokédex.
Marc picked up the 2 Pokeballs that had red lights glowing in the center. Rachel reminded him that only 6 Pokemon can be on his active team. The others are sent to his designated carer, who would be his father, Marc Masters. Marc then decided to call his parents to catch up and check in on Pichu and Meowth, who might be confused about where they are. Mike praised Marc for everything he had been accomplishing, but his mother Mia yelled at him for putting himself in danger. Marc asked about his brothers, Maven and Malcolm. Mike informed him that they'd call every so often and were quite vague about their journey. He added they'd yet to catch more than 6 Pokemon, which made Marc feel accomplished. Mike suggested he transfer his Butterfree and Pidgeotto so they could spread their wings and fly around his landscape. Marc transferred Wilfred and Nimbus in exchange for Pichu and Meowth. mentioning he would be rotating his Pokemon frequently to ensure they all get trained well. The transfer was made, and Marc brought out Meowth and Pichu, telling them of his dreams and goals to defeat all gym leaders and then the Pokemon League. Marc then asked Pichu if he could name her Ray, and Meowth Darius, to which both accepted with fondness. Anthony had a cold expression on his face as he stared at Darius, but his trance was interrupted by an excited Marc, who approached Rachel.
You're up first, Rach! The Cerulean City contest ribbon is yours!